For more than 15 years, one local organization has given Wisconsin veterans something some of them never received: a homecoming. Stars and Stripes Honor Flight flies local veterans on an all-day, all-expenses-paid flight to Washington, D.C. The veterans see the monuments built in their honor and are sent off and welcomed back home like heroes. Now a program airing on My 24 provides a special glimpse into what it takes to make this happen for thousands of vets. It introduces us to some of the hundreds of volunteers who make Stars and Stripes Honor Flight happen. We're here with Karyn Roelke, president of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight. Welcome back to Connect MKE, and how exciting to have this new documentary.
It's fantastic, and we're thrilled that finally our volunteers are getting the spotlight that they deserve.
So tell us a little bit about this. We really just want to make sure that we understand it. How did Honor Flight get started? Stars and Stripes Honor Flight here in Wisconsin.
So Stars and Stripes Honor Flight got started in 2008 because the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. had just opened, and many World War II vets at that time couldn't make that trip alone, either financially or physically. So it was truly our honor at that point to begin taking our local World War II vets to Washington to see their memorial. And that kind of evolved into welcoming our Korean War veterans in about 2014, and then also our Vietnam veterans in 2017. So we're really honored to have an opportunity to thank our oldest veterans.
For those who may not know, tell us what happens on a Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, because it's pretty exciting.
They're so much fun. So we check the vets in very early in the morning at Mitchell Airport, fly to Washington, D.C. on chartered aircraft. We visit, load up coach buses to visit all of the memorials there, particularly the National Mall with the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, and the Korean War Memorial. We visit the Changing of the Guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington, and then we return that evening to Mitchell Airport to a hero's welcome. So it's just a one-day trip, morning to evening, and packed full of great moments for our veterans.
The way you describe it, there are lots of things that have to happen along the way for this to be as successful as it is, and for every trip to be successful for veterans. Volunteers are a big part of that.
They are, and we are an all-volunteer organization, so we don't have any paid staff. So we have 19 board members and then about 275 active volunteers that help make these flight days a reality. Everything from packing supplies for us in suitcases to helping us train our guardians that accompany the veterans to make sure that our veterans stay safe. Medical volunteers who review medical forms and fly with us to keep the vets safe. It's an all hands on deck effort.
And as you said, this is all volunteer, so there's no way this can happen without a highly coordinated effort.
Absolutely true. And some of our volunteers have been helping us in this way since the very beginning, since 2008. So we have a team of volunteers that kind of spans ages and experience levels, and we're just honored to have all of their help.
Because you have these very dedicated volunteers, is that one of the reasons that you wanted to be behind every flight? So people have the opportunity in this documentary to see how the magic math happens, how this all works.
Yes, absolutely. And interestingly, often when our veterans experience a Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, one of the first things they tell us is how much they enjoyed the volunteers and how impressed they were with the number of the volunteers. So it's a great opportunity for us to really shine a spotlight on these folks that work behind the scenes to make these flight days so great.
Tell us some of the things that volunteers do, because it's not as if they're showing up half an hour before the flight takes off and they're all lining the entryway to send the veterans off in style. There are people who are there almost overnight to make sure that things are rolling.
Yes, it's actually amazing how many volunteers put in so many hours even before flight day arrives, but also behind the scenes on flight days. So we have volunteers who call the veterans and get them confirmed for the flights. We have volunteers who help us at guardian training. We have volunteers who maintain our wheelchairs and clean and check them after every flight so that when flight day comes, excuse me, they can they're ready. they're ready for our volunteers to use on flight days. So it's incredible how many volunteer jobs there are and how many volunteers do those jobs to make successful flight days.
Is this really, in some ways, a tribute to the volunteers, this documentary? Is it really a tribute to the volunteers who come in and help and make this happen for thousands and thousands of veterans?
It is, and I think it's also a tribute to our community. You know, our volunteers come from all of the suburbs and Milwaukee proper. Again, all age groups. So it's a tribute to our volunteers, but also to our community who really bands together to make these days happen.
And as you said, volunteers come from everywhere. How do people find out about Honor Flight and the opportunity to volunteer?
Well, actually, right now we're fortunate to have a wait list for volunteers. So we're not even taking new volunteers at the moment until some rotate out, which is incredible. It's a wonderful problem to have. And a lot of our volunteers either flew with a World War II veteran many years ago, or maybe they're a teacher whose students got involved in writing mail call letters. They come to us from many different walks of life and in many different ways. And we even have a veteran volunteer group of vets who flew on the flight and said, you know what, I want to help my fellow vets experience this day. So then they come to us and become one of our ambassadors and do a variety of jobs at the airport to help their fellow vets. So really, volunteers come to us from many different ways with many different skill sets, and we're thrilled to utilize them all.
It really is amazing how it all works as well as it does.
Yes, and I think people get very accustomed to their volunteer role and get exceptionally good at it. And really, we're just blessed to have such an incredibly talented group of volunteers and a particularly dedicated group of volunteers. I think we like to tell people that we get paid in hugs, and I think that's really true.
Well, we are excited to see the documentary that's going to be airing on May 24, Behind Every Flight, which tells the story of how the magic happens. But we're going to take a break because in just a minute, we're going to come back with one of the Stars and Stripes Honor Flight volunteers. He first volunteered for a very personal reason. We're going to learn more about why he stays when we come back. Thanks for staying with us for this special preview of Behind Every Flight, Stars and Stripes Honor Flight 2, and tells the story of what it takes to make the honor flights for veterans happen. We are joined by one of the volunteers whose contribution is invaluable. Theo Williams has been part of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight for 5 years. Welcome to Connect MKE. We're so glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit, how did you first learn about Stars and Stripes Honor Flight?
So originally, I first learned my work, Industries for the Blind. We did actually a fundraiser for Stars and Stripes Honor Flight. And that was back in, I think, 2014, I believe. And then after that, I talked to the people that came, found out more. My dad being a Vietnam veteran, I was like, I have to get involved. So, and it's been fun ever since.
So why did you initially volunteer? I mean, what was it about Stars and Stripes Honor Flight that really caused you to be more than just interested and aware to really being actively involved in it?
Well, it's the mission of Stars and Stripes, you know, to give these heroes basically their welcome and some type of closure or healing. By going to DC and seeing the monuments, you know, it was something that's very near and dear to me, being that I come from a Vietnam veteran, my dad. So I had to get involved.
Seeing that closure that your dad didn't initially have, how important is that to you?
Very important, because I feel like even though we connect, now that he's gone and he's been there, it's like a different level of connection between us. It's almost indescribable. Like I get chills every time I think about it, but it's really just a heartfelt connection. And after that, I believe he gave me his he had a bunch of old slides, like the old slide projector. He gave me the entire thing. It's his entire time in Vietnam, and it's amazing. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it since then.
He had tucked it away.
He had tucked it away
all of that time.
Yeah, and ever since then, he's become more proud of being a Vietnam vet, which I think is important, because the way that they were welcomed back then was not the best, and to see that the community and whatnot is really appreciative and healed from then means a lot to him.
What are some of the things that you do individually as a volunteer to help Stars and Stripes Honor Flight? What are some of the things you're doing?
So I've been a guardian to some veterans that have maybe don't have any family, but were selected to go on. I've helped. I think there was one time where I was just extra hands to where anything that needed to be done on that flight, for whatever reason, the veteran that I was assigned to couldn't make the trip. So wheelchairs on and off the bus, making sure everybody's hydrated, checking people in, just anything that needed to be done really on that flight day, to make sure that all the veterans had a very good experience.
On your first flight,
Mm-hmm.
when you saw everything that went into it, you saw all the other volunteers, what did you think?
Well, it was kind of a whirlwind, to be honest. Seeing what happens and all the different moving parts, and how they all just move in unison is amazing. Even from you say the first time, it's still amazing. The 10th time, like every flight, it's amazing. Whether I'm being a guardian or in the flag line, just knowing all the moving parts and all the other volunteers, how dedicated they are to making that experience and that day unforgettable for the veterans.
So from what you've seen and what you have experienced, it sounds like this is something, volunteering for Honor Flight, making this happen. That's something you're committed to doing for the long haul.
100%. Yes, it is. As long as I can, I will volunteer for Stars and Stripes Honor Flight.
It's part of your life now.
It is. It really is. The board of directors and volunteers, they do an amazing job. And I feel like every year they get better. And if there is anything that doesn't go to plan, which it's very rare that something like that happens, they mitigate it right away. And then you'll never, if you weren't there, you'd never know. So it's a very good, well-organized machine.
Are you excited to see the Behind Every Flight documentary?
I am very, very excited. Very excited. It should be. It's eye-opening. It'll be eye-opening, and I think it will draw more attention and more passion to the mission. So.
One thing that is part of the documentary as well is, I don't want to give away the storylines here, but there is a part of the documentary that looks at what happens when veterans come back, and it gives us a glimpse into what their lives are like through a reunion that took place of vets who've been on past flights, and you still get together.
They do. And one of the things that we love is hearing that vets made a new buddy on the honor flight. They'll reach out and say, I forgot to get Bob's phone number that sat next to me. Or at one of the flights last year, we had 3 ladies that really connected, lady veterans that connected with each other. We've had guardians sitting on the plane playing cribbage together that didn't know each other previously. So we love the new friendships between both veterans and guardians that form on a flight day. And we're thrilled that this group that people will see was able to maintain that friendship, gets back together and chats about their honor flight day too.
And it's something that's important for them to be able to keep those connections.
It is, actually. And I think there are a lot of Vietnam veterans who, as they have become older, have become more isolated from their fellow veterans. And giving them a chance to sit and spend a day talking and sharing stories and common experiences with other Vietnam vets, I think is part of the healing.
Well, we are so grateful for both of you and for Honor Flight and for what it offers. And we are also honored that we're going to be able to air Behind Every Flight. That documentary is going to be airing on My 24. And we're glad for that. For more information on how to connect with Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, visit the website at starsandstripeshonorflight.org. And make sure to watch the Behind Every Flight Stars and Stripes Honor Flight 2 documentary on July 5th at 7 p.m. on My 24, or find the link to the program on the My 24 website. Up next, buying a home may be just a little bit easier thanks to U.S. Bank. Stay with us for more.